Thank you. Thank you. So, hi everyone. I hope you're having a really good time at the Games Job Fair. I heard that maybe a few of you might be looking to get a job in the game industry. So, I thought I would take this opportunity, this venue, to talk a little bit about how knowing Unreal Engine might help in that regards, and also in many other regards, because Unreal Engine isn't just made for games. There are many other industries that it can help you get a job in. But before I get into that, I want to start by introducing myself a little bit. So, hi everyone, I am Ari. I am an Unreal Engine evangelist at Epic Games. And an evangelist, I often get a question like, what is an evangelist? It basically means that, well, I go to conferences like this and I praise the word of Unreal Engine. But I also am in contact with every single kind of company that is, or like that wants to be in contact with me, that is using Unreal Engine, because how we work is that we only succeed when you succeed. So it's in my best interest to make sure everyone who's using Unreal Engine succeeds. I am focusing mostly on Northern Europe, and that is the Nordics and the Baltics. So if you are in the Nordics or the Baltics, feel free to reach out to me. My contact info is at the end of these slides, but also you can search for my name. I'm like all over the first two Google results pages. So yeah, I'm really easy to find. I'm really easy to contact. LinkedIn, Twitter, DMs are open, whatever. I'm a game programmer. I've been programming now for 15 years. As you can see, there are 15 years of game dev. So I have a very technical background. Actually, the last thing I did before I joined Epic Games was as a lead programmer on Returnal. I am Icelandic, so don't try to speak Finnish with me, but I do live in Finland. I've been living now in Finland for the last 10 years. And I put all my presentations usually up on my website, ari.games. And there's also a lot of different tips and tricks there. I recommend if you are using Unreal Engine or wanting to start using Unreal Engine, check out my website. I put a lot of stuff there. And I'm currently recording myself also. So afterwards, I'll probably put this presentation on there maybe in a few days or weeks. Who knows? And also about Epic Games. So who are we? Well, Epic Games was founded 30 years ago. We are in over 15 countries. We have over 50 offices worldwide. We have over 2,600 employees. I keep saying over because I don't know what the number is. Like this slide is over a year old. I just keep incrementing it a little bit and adding a plus. It's in that ballpark. And we won over 50 international awards. And what do we do? So Epic Games, well, we do two things mostly. Well, we do a lot of more things now. But what I am focused on in regards with Unreal Engine is that we do publishing of our own games. You might have heard of some of these games, like Fortnite, Unreal Tournament, Gears of War, etc. And then we take the technology that we invest into these games and we license it out to other games that companies are making, and also non-games. And I think that's actually what I'm going to be mostly talking about today. That is these games and non-games. And it's kind of amazing that we have these two categories, because game engines right now, they're really changing the world. Real-time 3D is kind of revolutionizing the industry right now, because there's such a huge adoption, broad adoption in many industries. Today, knowing Unreal Engine, it's not just good just for games, but all of these things: architecture, film and TV, automotive, broadcast, live events. And today's presentation, I think I would actually just go through these and talk a little bit about them. So okay, let's just start with games. Whenever someone thinks of Unreal Engine, I think most likely they'll think games. And for a good reason. It has been made for games from the start, and recently we've been adding like all these other verticals to it. And when it comes to games, like it comes complete with everything you need to build and ship successful multi-platform games out of the box. So you have free access to the source code also, which is great for people learning Unreal Engine, because if you don't know how something works, you can just check it out. You can just go check out the source code that these like geniuses at Epic Games have been writing, and see how they did everything. You can see totally how the sausage is made, and you can learn from that, and you can structure your code like we structure ours. And it's a great learning resource. And whenever the documentation isn't good enough, you always have the most true documentation, which is the source code itself. And even if you're not a programmer, we also have the amazing Blueprint visual scripting at your fingertips, which you can use both to, create logic for your games, and you can even use it nowadays to extend the editor using Blueprints. So you can create basically a custom tool in Unreal Engine without knowing a single letter of C++. And I've been keeping a looping video there of like some of the games that are using Unreal Engine, and just some of the examples here, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, an excellent game. I really liked it. And of course, I'm biased, but I put Returnal there because I worked on it and I think it's amazing. And I recommend you all play it if you haven't. Yeah, Fortnite, of course, the Pathless, Kina, like some indie games also. And the thing is about games now in Unreal Engine, like it's not just a few of them. Of all currently announced next-gen console titles, and when I say next-gen, I mean PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. I know it would technically be called current gen, but because there are still so many people that can't get their hands on it, for them, it is the next generation. So I'm just going to call it next gen. 48% of all announced next-gen console titles are built in Unreal Engine. So imagine that. Imagine you're coming to the game industry and you have Unreal Engine in your tool belt, and you can just go to any of these studios and say, hey, I already know the engine you're using. What a leg up you have, like compared to the competition. And look at all these studios there that are already using Unreal Engine. Like this is just a very small subset of them. We have Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, Housemarque now, and Double Fine, CCP. I'm just like pointing at them and saying them out loud. But yeah, like it is absolutely crazy how many studios are using Unreal Engine right now to ship next-gen console and PC games and even mobile games. But let's move now a little bit outside of games. So like, let's say you learned Unreal Engine and you were in games, or you thought you wanted to be in games, but maybe it's not right for you. Don't worry, those skills are not wasted. One of the closest other profession you could go to would be, for example, film and television. So Unreal Engine is being used in quite a few ways when it comes to film and television, not just as you can see there in the video, this is from Mandalorian. So the Mandalorian for Disney Plus, we're using an LED in-camera VFX stage, is what we call it, ICVFX. So they were using an LED stage to broadcast Unreal Engine footage as background, and I would often make it as final pixels into the movie. And when I say final pixels, it means that no CG work additional has been done on it. Of course, color grading and stuff like that, but it's just straight from Unreal Engine to your TV. But it's also being used in pre-production. So oftentimes director would want to storyboard their scenes, but nowadays they can just get a team to actually roughly draft out what the scene is going to look like in Unreal Engine and look at it like that and go like, okay. And actually, you can see a making of online for the new Planet of the Apes movies, the War of the Planet of the Apes and stuff like that by Andy Serkins. And there you can see footage of them using Unreal Engine to kind of like, draft out the scenes. And then the final scenes look almost identical in terms of composition. So it is a really valuable tool. And so it's being used for pre-production, in camera, final pixels. Even Matrix used it for the new one, for the dojo scene. And it was really important for them to use it in Mandalorian because the Mandalorian is using a fully reflective armor. And how do you do that with just normal VFX? It's almost impossible. There's so much work. So imagine being able to just put the entire background scene to be like what's going to be visible. Like, number one, the director can see what's happening straight in camera without having to imagine it and then do it later on. Number two is that the actors can react to it live and you can get better performance out of them. And then number three is that you get realistic lighting hitting the entire scene. And that includes getting reflected of windows and, for example, yes, the Mandalorian's armor. This is an old slide. I think it was from 2019 that we made it. So the number is much, much higher now. And but most of these movies here were using Unreal Engine in some way with pre-production, except The Mandalorian. But nowadays, I'm going to update this slide so that eventually I'll be able to have all the movies that are actually using Unreal Engine for final pixels. But I do have an up-to-date slide, and that is this one. So these LED stages, these sound stages, we have now more than 250 in-camera VFX stages across the globe. And this is a huge boom recently, because out of all these stages, just in the last 2 years, over 200 of them have been built. So this is a super new industry, and they are starving for talent. A lot of them are actually also in Europe, I think over 50. Most of them are in the UK and Germany of the European continent, and then they're spread out more. I think we even have at least one in Finland. So yeah, this is definitely a viable option if this is something you want to get into. But it's not just in film and TV. It's also in live events that aren't pre-recorded. So this is something we're seeing quite a lot, like happening now, for example, in news. Like here is an example in the video. It's from the Weather Channel. So they're using both an LED stage and also, well, mostly they're using green screen actually. So this scene right here, this scene right here, actually all of these are using green screen. So you don't even need super expensive, setups. You can just have a green wall behind you, Unreal Engine. And like even this one here where the tower is falling down, that's not even a green screen. That's just composited straight on top. So for studios, companies, institutions that could be using Unreal Engine, like you just, put a green screen, plug in Unreal Engine, and now you can have these amazing visuals to really engage your audience. And right now, it's being used in over 150 TV networks around the world. And I just want to emphasize again, I've been doing this, like these presentations, for at least a year. So I don't even know what the number is at right now. And some of the examples are the Weather Channel. Childish Gambino actually used Unreal Engine for one of his live shows, and then Fox Sports and NASCAR. It's also architecture, engineering, construction. And this is not some new industries, that are just getting funded. These are not some startups. Like these are old, mature, humongous industries that have a lot of money and like our civilization have been building on for many years. And they have started now to use Unreal Engine. So they now need developers, and they have a lot of money to pay. So if that's something you're interested in, you also have that option. And this is used for stakeholders and for customers, because showing someone blueprints, that's just like, oh yeah, I can see some lines. How is this in 3D? I don't know. Now being able to just import your digital blueprints into digital twins, which is an Unreal Engine product, and being able to add pedestrians, 3D models, and these are all like for no additional cost, by the way. You can get a library of megascans, Quixel, which is like rocks, trees, foliage, all of these, and people and buildings, windows, stuff like that. You can put all in without having to pay anything extra, and it just works. And then you can pixel stream it through the browser. You can have the customer install it on their PC, or you can even put it in VR, which is how they actually started using it. So you can put on a VR glasses and start walking around. Automotive and transportation is starting to use Unreal Engine. In this example, Chevrolet was using Unreal Engine to create to create ads. And what they did was they created the skeleton of a car that was littered with QR codes, and then they would film that car and overlay an actual car on top of it in real time. So what you're seeing here now, like this is all happening in real time. This is them just filming their little skeleton car, and there you go, rendering a CGI car straight on top of it. And now you don't have to like put a car in there, film it, and go like, oh, we should have used the blue car. No, you can like try it all live and like change it also in post. Design and manufacturing. also using that. So brands they're turning away from these expensive and slow design approaches, like the physical design prototypes, resin models, and nowadays you can just take your CAD model and import it straight to Unreal Engine to add 3D visualization to it for virtual reality, on-the-fly customization, and all powered by real-time engines like Unreal Engine. And these are some of the companies that are already using Unreal Engine like this: Toyota, BMW, Daimler, Remtech. And they're not just we're not just using it for like engineering and also for the cars for visualizing them for ads. We're actually seeing them inside of cars now. So this is an example from General Motors. They're actually using Unreal Engine to display the HUD in the car. So you have the 3D car there. This is all running Unreal Engine inside the car. And so we're seeing Unreal Engine now being used for human-machine interfaces, not just in cars, but this is one example. Yeah. This is something that I really, really like. This is like near and dear to my heart because this is actually using Unreal Engine to help the world. Training and simulation. When it's too dangerous or expensive to train in the real world, or when you need a platform for experimentation, analysis, prototyping, or machine learning, you can rely on Unreal Engine. And in this video that I'm showing here, they're actually training doctors and nurses for operations that otherwise would maybe not be possible or would be risky to train them. So you can have some difficult operations maybe that they've made into now this virtual reality training application. And I'm seeing this being used in schools and also at companies. And they are needing people that are creating these experiences. They need developers, they need modelers, they need lighting artists, they need like all of these people. And trying to think what else to say about this. Also, actually a good example, there's this College of Fisheries in Iceland, and they're using Unreal Engine now because it's really hard to train the students because like you can't take over a fish processing plant, shut everything down just to get the students in there, like a whole class. Or you can't go on a ship, a fishing ship or fishing boat, and say like, hey, shut everything down, and then we have to like sanitize everything. Just he downloaded, the teacher downloaded the 3D models of the machinery that they're actually using because the vendor provided that. Put it into VR in Unreal Engine and just let the students like actually see how the machines work, how to use them, and even how to repair them. So this is a very low cost and accessible way to train the next generation of anything, any professionals, anything where hands-on needs to be trained in an environment that might be dangerous or expensive or just impractical. Then we have advertising and marketing. This is kind of like, this is the last slide with all the jobs. I guess it's kind of catch all, like you can do all sorts of stuff. In this video, we are seeing The Mill making a trailer for, I think it's monster.com. And everything that you're seeing there on screen of the big hairy monster moving around, it's live. And they're using the hand tracking hardware to just, move the monster around. And like, imagine how fast this is to just try things out, to prototype it a little bit for the director to be able to decide like, yeah, the ad should look like this, the ad should look like that. All of this would take so long to tween and keyframe like painstakingly in advance. Being able to just make the first cut, just, either using VR controllers or hand tracking, or even I know of one studio in Scandinavia, I can't remember which, Sweden or Norway, that are making this children's show, and they're using a controller to animate the character to quickly make the episodes. And then what you can do afterwards, after you have recorded your inputs, whether it's through a controller, a VR controller, or a hand tracking, you can use Control Rig, which is inside of Unreal Engine, which is our in-engine animation tool. You can use that for additive animations, or you can like change them, and you can do that both at runtime and in advance, and then save that as a new animation. So you don't have to be stuck with the animations that you get from those recording sessions. You can edit them afterwards. So those were a lot of industries that you can consider taking your Unreal Engine skills going into. They are all right now in need of Unreal Engine skills. And the thing is, real-time skills right now are in heavy demand. So again, this is, we did this, we got these numbers a couple of years ago, so the number might be even higher now, I'm not sure. Once we do a new gathering of the numbers, I'll be sure to update these slides. But even though those are over a year old, we have 315,000 visualization real-time jobs just available, needing to be filled. And the real-time jobs have grown over 6 times faster than the overall job market. And out of that, like, demand for Unreal Engine skills, it is projected to grow over double over the next 10 years. So, like, this isn't going anywhere. For you, there are multiple ways to learn. We have Unreal Online Learning, which is our own learning hub. And actually, we have now made it so that all of the videos from Unreal Online Learning are now in our new dev community hub. So you should check that out, dev.epicgames.com. Of course, the classroom and remote training from schools and post-education institutions. We also have education events where Unreal Engine might make a road tour and have presentations and stuff. And then we post regularly industry guides on our website, unrealengine.com. I think I'm quite good on time. I still have 7 minutes, but I guess we were a little late because the last presentation went over. So I'm just going to say, like, are you making something Unreal? If you're making something Unreal in the Nordics and the Baltics, so in Northern Europe, you can just email me. You are in my region. You can also reach out to me on Twitter and LinkedIn. It's Flassari, Flassari. If you're not in Northern Europe, we have evangelists all over Europe and actually all over the world. So you can reach out to your local evangelist. We are listing them on our website. You can, I think you just Google Unreal Indies and or just Unreal Evangelist, and you might be able to find all of us in our regions. But yeah, like, our job is to be here for you for any questions you might have. If you have any questions about Unreal Engine, the metahumans, megascans, quickscrolls, anything really, you can just go ahead and contact us.
Yes, Ari, we actually have questions. We have 5 minutes, so
yes, nice.
Let me read those. Actually, quite many, so I'll copy the questions later on. We'll pass it on. How should the career path of Unreal Engine C++ developer look like, in your opinion?
Oh, really good question, because I'm an Unreal Engine C++ developer, and I started by learning Unity. And then, like, knowing Unity is actually a good base for, like, jumping into Unreal. There are 2 engines, and they have many similar concepts, like game objects turn into actors. They both have components. So I would say you would start, for a C++ Unreal Engine developer, start getting into the engine itself. And you don't even have to start with C++. You can start by using blueprints, because blueprints are basically just calls into C++. So yeah, start by getting into Unreal Engine, understanding how it works, use blueprints a little bit to get a hold of the API. And then the thing is about C++, when you start using C++ with Unreal Engine, you don't have to jump in and go full C++. You can just start by doing a little bit of C++, where it makes sense, where you want to and need to do it. And it's super easy to make C++ in Unreal Engine, just in Unreal Engine, right-click, do new C++ class, it will create it for you. And in Unreal Engine 5, it's gotten way faster to iterate, because you can now create code, press Ctrl-Alt and F11, and it will compile it and put it into Unreal Engine without you even having to turn Unreal Engine off.
Ari, so many questions, so sorry.
Let's go through them. Yes, I'll answer faster.
There's a huge return of fun, and I like that question. What was the motivation for moving from a housemarque to Epic? Did you want to do more low-level technical stuff than AAA games?
I mean, there's nothing more low level than doing AAA games. No, it was really hard for me to go away from Housemarque because I absolutely love these people and they are also looking for talent. So if you know Unreal Engine and want to get a job in the industry, I really recommend Housemarque. It's an amazing company. But I moved away because I also like to do a lot of community stuff. I was doing a conference, Games Helsinki. I was doing the Unreal meetups. Before that, I was doing the Unity meetups. And then Epic Games basically contacted me and said, hey, you're already doing everything an evangelist would be doing, but you're doing it for free. So how about we pay you for it? And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So that was the reason. It was the community stuff, like talking to people like you all. Okay, next question, Oleg. Let's speedrun this thing, like Aaron says. We can't hear you. Are you muted?
Ari, next question. Sorry, there was a small technical. You can hear me.
Yeah.
Do you think that the further development of blueprints will be in a blueprints-only developer be more valid for the dev jobs, like in the future? It's a question from the game designer.
Yeah, if you know Blueprint, you are already making a great foundation for like also even learning coding if you want to. But the thing is, Blueprint is severely important. Like for example, at Housemarque, all of our designers that were doing anything were also using blueprints. All of our technical artists were using blueprints. So, and also there are many games that are shipping using blueprints only. So yes, it's totally valid. It is basically programming. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise because you're just calling C++ functions. So yes, learning blueprints, excellent. That's what I would recommend you do to expand your opportunities to get a job using Unreal Engine.
Okay, I mean, I copied all the questions. So Ari, if you can hand out a little bit like in the chat and answer because the questions keep coming in. I mean, will Unreal Engine kill Unity? That would be the last one.
I don't think we should. I think it's good to have competition, good to keep us on our toes. And if Unreal were to kill Unity, I actually think that would be bad, personally.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ari.
Thank you. I'll hang out in the chat and answer a few more questions. Thank you all. Bye-bye.